morning. I'm really excited about the opportunity to speak to all of you. This isn't the first time at this isn't my first time at Chorizo and Menudo. I've been here multiple times. I've met multiple people in this room, and I just want to say thank you for the work that you all do every single day in your lives, in your communities. You are making a difference in your community, and I want to continue to work with you to make that difference for Dallas ISD. Who am I? Thank you. Who am I? My name is Miguel Solis, and I'm running for Dallas ISD's District 8 seat. The reason why I can run for that seat is because currently the seat is vacant. Adam Medrano, who was the school board member for District 8, is now the city council member for District 2. And I'm very happy to have the support of Adam Medrano, and I'm very happy to have the support of the Medrano family as well. Those are some big shoes to fill. That family has left a legacy for Dallas ISD School Board, and I hope to continue to build on that legacy. I'm the son of a public school teacher. I'm a second-generation Mexican-American. My family came from Ojuelos, Jalisco, and León, Guanajuato. They left the Mexican Revolution in the early 1900s, and they came to Port Arthur, Texas, looking for opportunities. They came in, and they started in the public school systems. Public school worked for my family, and I would not be here today if public school didn't work. I'm grateful for my family and their struggle, and I know that the struggle of my family was the struggle of your families. Because you laid the foundation, you laid it for people in my generation, and I'm ever thankful to you because of the struggle. Also, I was a public school teacher. I taught at Marsh Middle School. I taught 8th grade U.S. history. And every single day I walked into that classroom knowing that if those kids did not get a quality education, their future was up in the air. Dallas ISD has got to work. And guess what? It can work. I know it can work, and you know it can work. But it's going to take us working together to make sure that it continues to work for 158,000 students in this school district. That's a lot. But I know it can work. People have asked me multiple times already, Miguel, why do you want to run for Dallas ISD School Board? Are you crazy? And I look at them at first, I say, well, I don't know, potentially. But then I think back to a couple of things. The first thing is this. My father played the guitar in California during the farm workers movement. He looked up to Cesar Chavez. And I think back to a quote that I once read about Cesar Chavez. He said this: it's possible to look at the world today and to be discouraged because of injustices. We were never promised that the world was going to be humane and just. We were simply born into the world and presented an opportunity to do something about it. When I look at running for the school board, that's what I want to do. I want to do something about the issues. The other reason why I'm running is because I saw public education work in my classroom. There was a young student by the name of Eduardo Barajas. He came into my classroom straight from Mexico. He had a speech impediment, and he'd never passed, from his previous year, had never passed any of the state exams. He walked into my classroom and he said, Mr. Solis, do you think I have a chance at passing these tests? And honestly, at that point, I didn't know. I had to work 110% with Eduardo. I could not give up, and there were many times where I wanted to, but we worked extremely hard, and at the end of the year, he failed all of his state exams, except for one, the one that he took in my class. And he wrote me a note at the end of that school year, and he said, Mr. Solis, gracias. Thank you, because you believed in me. Eduardo made me believe in myself as well. Eduardo has proved that public education can work. It's proof that Dallas ISD can work. We need to work together to continue to grow our school district. So how are we going to do it? I think there are a couple critical components. The first thing is we have to make sure that the teachers in this school district are supported, that they're able to have all the tools and the resources necessary to be successful. We also need to make sure that every single teacher in the classroom in DISD is an effective teacher. That they're working 110% to make sure that all the children, including the Eduardos of this school district, are successful. We also need to focus on the fact that we have 158,000 students and 70% are Latino. Many of those students are dual language learners. They're bilingual education students. We got to make sure that those programs continue to work and make sure that the teachers that are teaching those classes are supported, and that we find more teachers who can speak that language and support them to make sure that our students are successful. The third thing is we need to make sure that we continue to remain financially accountable in our school district. We need to grow our fund balance and make sure that if the state cuts us, we can take care of ourselves. Public education is going to work. I know it's going to work. You know it's going to work. But it can't be done unless we work together. I'll close by saying this. When I look out at this crowd, and I think about the conversations that I've had with many of you, and I think about the struggle and what you've done to make your community better, I think about a quote from Robert Kennedy. He once said, "Each time a person stands up or acts to improve the lot of others or strikes out against injustice, they send forth a tiny ripple of hope. And crossing a million different centers of energy and daring, those ripples can build a current so powerful it can sweep down the mightiest walls of inequity." You've been throwing those rocks into the pond. The ripples have been coming. I want to join you in making sure that the mightiest wall of oppression, education inequity, comes down. Every student in Dallas ISD can be successful. I believe it. I need your help to make other people know it can happen. Join me as I run for District 8, and thank you very much for this opportunity. Mr. Benson.
About 2 weeks ago, DISD administration handed out what I think is a new vision statement for DISD. I want to ask you to change the last 4 words. Here's the way it currently reads. To be a district where all students achieve at high levels regardless of their family background. That's the wrong attitude. That's the Dallas attitude that needs to change. I want to change it to 4 other words that say building on their heritage.
I think that's great. Well, and I also want to commend you, Mr. Benson. I've seen you many times in the community. You yourself, if I'm not mistaken, were a public school teacher in Dallas ISD. And you've been working on kids, helping them to write down their dreams and figure out how to make those dreams a reality. You know, I commend you on your service at Dallas ISD as a former teacher to another. Thank you for what you've done. Yes, sir.
What's your opinion of Superintendent Mike Miles? You used to work with him, right?
I did.
Why did you resign?
So here's the question. The question was, what was my opinion of Superintendent Mike Miles, and why did I leave the administration? Because I used to work in the administration while also being a teacher as well. So it's a good question. Here's my opinion. First thing is, I wasn't in the room when the board members decided to hire Mike Miles. I don't know what the criteria was to hire Mike Miles, but I do know this. They gave the man a 3-year contract, and they hired him, and they said, "We hired you for the right reason. Do your job." As a board member, if I'm able to be elected, we have to look at, why did you hire him? Is he doing the job that you asked him to do? If you don't believe, board, that he's not, then collectively, you need to make the decision to move forward. But if he's doing the job that you asked him to do, then we need to figure out, how do we give him the opportunities and the tools to make our district even better? There are so many kids that are relying on the decisions made in that administration. We have to make sure that we're listening to people, that we're building coalitions, and that those 158,000 students get a quality education. I moved to another organization because I wanted to be out in the community. I wanted to continue to build coalitions. Because really, the biggest biggest supporters of Dallas ISD, they're you. Your voices need to be heard. Your ideas need to be heard. Because if there's anybody that knows it, it is you. You've had students in Dallas ISD. Some of you have kids that are there right now. I want to make sure that I can work with all of you to make your voices heard. And I want to build off the legacy of Adam Medrano as well. Yes, ma'am, in the back. One of the things, I'm not sure if everybody was able to hear that, but the comment was about parents and parent involvement and how parents play a critical role in making sure that students can be successful. My father was a first-generation Mexican American. You know, his mother had 1 year of schooling. That was it. And his dad died whenever he was 2 months old. My abuelito made sure that my dad got an education because he knew education was the key to open doors. My dad also made sure that I got a good education. And he made sure that every single day I was not giving my teachers trouble and that I was doing my work. Now, sometimes I would come home and he'd pull the belt off because he knew that I was giving my teacher trouble. But I learned from that. I was able to go and get my degree at Lamar University, and I went to get my master's in education policy at Harvard University. I would not have been able to go to Harvard had it not have been for my dad and my abuelita making sure that I got that quality education. So I think you're right.
Good morning, Miguel. My name is Michael Del Toro, also Dallas ISD. Also with Dallas ISD. As a board member, one of the things that I would like for you to look at, and we've looked at it, and ASA, also in other organizations that I'm involved with, but it is a true bilingual program that will work, a dual language program that will work. 72% of the student population is Hispanic, so if we can get the dual language program to work properly, then I think that would make a tremendous difference in our kids' future. Currently, we have a flawed system, I believe. Pre-K through second grade, if they are in the dual language program, it's called the dual language program, but really they're getting Spanish in all subjects and only math and English. They turn around to third grade and get a little bit of more English. And our kids are not being taught how to read. They're not being taught phonetics. They're not being taught phonics. And they're expected later on to pass the STAR test, the state exams, and the SATs, and be college ready from a third grade education up with no foundation. So it is flawed. I've been constantly telling all of the board members that I know, the superintendent, I have talks with him as well, and there seems to be something that I think is maybe money related or something, because they're not doing anything about it. And they told me, well, maybe in the future. I have a 6, a 7, and an 8-year-old. I cannot afford to wait another year. So I had to take my kids, even though I'm a bilingual certified teacher, and I am a true believer in the bilingual education program when it's done properly. I had to make the tough decision to take my 2 kids out of the bilingual education program, put them in a general education program, because I was told to wait. I'm not going to produce any more kids, so I don't have any more kids to make. Okay, I'm done. I had 4, that's it. So I don't have that luxury of waiting as I was told. So hopefully we can do something about it, and because for the magnet programs, TAC programs, and all the great programs that are here, you do need to be fluent in English and especially reading, because there are no bilingual GT programs. So that's one of the things.
Thank you. And I will be looking into that because I'm a firm believer that bilingual education and dual language is what's going to really make a difference. So you go back and look at the history of when that program was started and where we're at today. We've made tremendous gains. So we need to continue that. And I'll close by saying this. Right now there are 9 seats on the school board. 8 of those seats are filled. At the moment, there's no Latino representation on the board. There's no Latino representation. I believe that District 8 deserves the best representative, the best leader. I also think it's important that out of 158,000 students, 70% are Hispanic. And we got to make sure that their voices are heard as well and that they have representation on that board. So those are issues that if I'm honored to be elected a District 8 school board member, that I will take on. Thank you very much. I appreciate the opportunity. I cannot do this without you, so thank you.
Let me ask you a question.
Yes, sir. Stand down.
I had an opportunity to serve on the school board 29 years ago. I served 14 years there. Would you be working with someone to introduce legislation to increase that school board from 9 to a possible 15 seats? And that's the way we're going to get equitable representation. That's the key. 9 is not enough. We need more representation than that.
Thank you again, Mr. Medrano, for your service, for your legacy, and thank you for your support as well. But those are things that I'm definitely willing to have conversations about, just to learn a little bit more. I mean, there's a history here. I want to learn more, because I don't have all the answers, and I think that's something that I would be willing to learn about.
Sorry guys, we gotta keep the program going. As you know, vamos a Miguel la primera vez. Es a propósito de la office. And let me tell you what Robert Medrano and Adam and some other people that are here. Being a DISJ trustee is a volunteer job. You work for free. They don't pay you. It's gratis. So when somebody steps up, especially when you have a young man like Miguel, we need to talk about that. So Miguel, gracias por running. All right, next we have somebody who is not so young. He's a veteran. He's been on the front lines for a long time. He's been, I just looked at this, and he was elected to the Texas State Senate in 1992. He is represented the 23rd Senatorial District, which encompasses most of Oak Cliff and southern Dallas County. He has been named by Texas Monthly as one of the 25 most powerful people in Texas politics. He's been instrumental in several key initiatives. One is creating the University of North Texas in Dallas County. I'm a graduate from UNT, and now we have a UNT in Dallas County. He's also worked to create the first public law school in Dallas County, which will be opening up, I believe, in a year, downtown Dallas at the old Dallas Municipal Courthouse. And he has created the Texas Juvenile Crime Prevention Center at Prairie View A&M. He's increased funding for youth risks. He's graded awarded bigger compensation for the victims of violent crime and established new standards for child care. He's going to talk to us a little bit about, they had the legislative session this year, and then there was another special session and another special session. So there's a lot that happened this year. Let's give a big warm welcome to State Senator Royce West.
Let me say this. I know that you are a smart man because you married Elba Garcia. It's a pleasure to be here with you this morning. I am so glad to be back home. I really am. And yes, I've been serving 23rd Senatorial District now for some 20 years. Let me kind of put it in context for you. During the first part of the session, we go down there every other year, every odd year. And so towards the first part of the session, people always ask you, groups ask you to come and speak. And so I was speaking at some group, and a young lady who was a college student came up, Miguel, and she was introducing me. And the reality is, she said, Nancy, she said, Senator West has been serving the state of Texas for over 2 decades. Okay? Over 2 decades. And I've never looked at it like that. I really haven't. The reality is I'm still having fun doing what I'm doing. And to the extent that I can continue to make a difference, I want to continue to serve as 23rd senatorial district. But I can't serve it without your participation. In this room, we have a lot of actors. We have movers and shakers in this room. And I can talk to you all day about what went on during the legislative session. Yes, it's a better budget that came out. Yes, we put more money into Health and Human Services specifically to deal with behavioral health issues. And those behavioral health issues came as a result of what happened up in Newtown. Yes, we want to make certain that people that are predisposed to some sort of disorder that end up hurting kids in school, that we try to catch them on the front end. And so we put more money into behavioral health. Yes, we put more money, Miguel, into public education. You know why? Because the courts have a gun to our head out. You know about the lawsuit. You were on a school board when the lawsuit was filed, and yes, when the judge made a decision. And basically saying that the way that we fund public education in the state of Texas is unconstitutional. So the legislature, our Republican colleagues, began to look at some of the things that they did back during the 2011 legislative session, where public education was cut some $5 billion and began to restore some of those dollars. Yes, all of that happened. Yes, we dealt with issues concerning criminal justice, where some of the facilities that we don't need in the state of Texas, we've closed them down. I took some heat on Dawson, so Dawson has been closed as well as several others. But we took that money, some of those dollars, and put it into treatment programs. We took that money and put it into treatment programs that should have been funded under the legislation that we passed when we created the state jails. So we put money into criminal justice. We put money into transportation. This is what's getting ready to happen. How many of you know to take Interstate 35 to go downtown? Raise your hand. Interstate 35. All right. What about Interstate 30? All right. You know we're getting ready to have a bunch of construction. So get ready. If you are upset about it, call Eric Dominguez. Where are you, Eric? Call Eric Dominguez. Okay, no problem. He'll do. But what's getting ready to happen? We're getting ready to do the horseshoe. And it's going to be a lot of construction, and it's going to be through like 2017. So just get ready for it, all right? And take the bridges, the Jefferson bridges, and all that other stuff in order to get downtown. But know that that's going to be happening. So we're putting more money into transportation. Yes, we provided some tax breaks for some of the businesses in the state of Texas. AT&T is a major employer in our district. So AT&T and those telecommunication companies did, in fact, get some tax breaks. Did we do enough for the common man? No, we didn't. Why didn't we, Senator West? Because we couldn't put together the political coalition in order to get it done. Why couldn't we put together the political coalition in order to get it done? It's because we don't turn out to vote in the state of Texas. And I'm getting sick and tired of being sick and tired. Let me just kind of give you an idea. And to make when I'm talking about this, when the last gubernatorial election occurred, Perry won by 630,000 votes. 630,000 votes. How many Latinos who were registered to vote did vote? How many African Americans who were registered to vote didn't vote? The reality is that had those two groups alone voted, Perry would not have won re-election. Had those two votes, those two groups got together across the state, we could have made a difference in some of the other elections. Therefore, you see, for those that are not astute in politics, and some of you say, Senator West, when you see me, when are you going back to Washington? And that's when I know that you don't know what's going on in politics, because I'm in Austin. Okay? The reality is this. The reality is this. A lot of state house districts are kind of on the edge. And had we turned out the vote necessary, we could have gained a majority back in the state house. So, what am I talking about? Voter ID. You know what's going on with voter ID. They're trying to implement voter ID. We've had a Supreme Court that's basically said that, yes, Section 5 of the Voting Rights Act, well, the Congress needs to turn around and do something with Section 4, so both states, as long as they don't do that, then your Section 5 has basically been declared null and void, even though it's still on the books. And Greg Abbott did what? He said, voter ID, you can do it in the state of Texas. And needless to say, there have been lawsuits that have been filed against that. And you know who it's going to hurt. It's going to hurt us. And so we've got to do everything that we can to make certain that that law is declared unconstitutional. We've got to make certain that what we do is turn people out to vote. Now let me come closer to home. Okay? Let me come closer. How many Democrats do we have here? Raise your hands. How many Republicans do we have in there? Raise your hands. All right, so I'm talking family now, all right? Here's the deal. We were able to turn Dallas County blue by working together. Let me say that one more time. We were able to turn Dallas County blue by working together. Yes. I can recall, hold on. I can recall when Lupe was running, for sure. I didn't know Lupe Valdez. None of us did, for the most part. But she worked real hard. She worked real hard. And I can recall meeting with Lupe in my Senate office, in our Senate office. No, it was Senate. But, okay. I recall meeting with her in the Senate office about her running for sure, and became very, very confident that she was the best candidate in the race. And we put together a coalition of blacks, whites, browns, Asians, gays, straight, in order to make certain that she won the election. That was back in 2004. And guess what? She's been reelected twice since then, because we're able to put together a coalition in order to make certain that she was reelected. In the Democratic Party right now, we have a lot of infighting going on. Okay? Too much infighting going on. And I've had many of you call me that are candidates and elected officials and say, Senator, we need to meet with you. Well, look here, I'm going to meet with each and every one of them. Each and every one of them. When I get my law practice back together, I got to get the law practice back together first. But we've got to make certain that even though we're having the infighting, even though we're having spirited primaries, that we don't lose sight of the objective. Don't be fooled, because the reality is this. The Republicans are going to launch a campaign we hadn't seen before. Think about this. You have Dan Branch, who's running for AG. You have Ken Paxton, who's running for AG, both from North Central Texas. I think one of them will ultimately be the nominee for district attorney. For AG. I think there will be a Republican nominee for district attorney. I think there's going to be a Republican nominee for county judge. There will be Republican nominees for all of the judgeships. So to the extent that we have a primary where people's feelings get hurt and they decide to stay home, the same thing that happened when Bill White ran for governor is going to happen in Dallas County. And don't be confused. There will be resources from around the state of Texas poured into Dallas County by the Republican Party in order to reclaim Dallas County. Don't be confused by that. And if they can start doing it during this next election, you know what's they're going to try to happen to do in 2016. And so I say this to my Latino brothers and sisters. I'm disappointed. In fact, I'm pissed off. Why? Because you hadn't turned out to vote. Daily Hasso. District over 60% Latino. Pleasant Grove over 60% Latino. How many Latinos do we have on the school board right now? 0. How many on the city council? 2. For a city that's majority minority, you as activists should be ashamed of yourself. I'm disappointed. And to the extent that I can help, you know I've always been there to help, and I will continue to help. But we have got to forge, not only talk about the game, we've got to make certain we get people to participate in the game. Now, how do we do that? We've got to be responsive to what our constituents want us to be responsive to. I mean, people, you know, there's an election all year. Well, I'm not going to be able to make the election because I've got to be downtown in 10 minutes. We've got to make certain that we understand and appreciate and keep our finger on the pulse of what people want us to be addressing. Yes, it's great to be a state senator. It's great to be a state representative, county convention, and judges. But if we don't keep our finger on the pulse of what our constituents as constables want us to address, then they're not going to turn out to vote. We have no one to blame but ourselves. And let's not be confused. Just because a person happens to be Anglo, African American, or Hispanic, that doesn't necessarily mean I have anything in common with them at all. We have to continue to build coalitions that are based on interests. There needs to be the interests of the people. You think about it. In the history of Dallas County, think about the power over the resources that we currently have. We talk about education. We have the power. We have over the resources in order to make certain that those resources are pointed in the direction that we want to point it in order to deal with issues that we want them to deal with. We have that power to make certain that programs that we want to see funded are actually funded. If they're going to make a difference in our community, and we're going to be held accountable. The thing is whether we will work together to make certain that those resources are in fact deployed for that particular purpose. Let me say a couple other things, and I'm going to shut up. I'm going to answer any questions. Yes, Domingo, we had 2 or 3 sessions. Y'all was long. We dealt with issues that I know will probably be divisive even in this particular room. We dealt with issues concerning school choice. How many of you support vouchers in this room? Raise your hands. How many of you support vouchers in this room? Raise your hands. Vouchers. How many of you are against vouchers? Raise your hands. Okay. How many of you are pro-life in this room? Pro-life. How many of you are pro-choice in this room? Raise your hands. Look around. Hold your hands up. Look around. Don't be scared. Those were some of the hot button issues that we had to deal with during this legislative session. And it divided not only the parties, but also the state. I've never seen so many people participate in state government in terms of coming down protesting than I did when we dealt with the issue of pro-life and pro-choice during the first called special session. People are energized in this state in order to make a difference. I'm just hoping that we're energized here in Dallas County in order to make a difference. And I know that the energy in order to make those changes, be it community college, be it at City Hall, be it at the school district, be it at the state level, the congressional level, is in this room. The energy is in this room in order to make a difference. And I know working together, we can make that difference. Thank you very much. Any questions?
Buenos días, señor senador. Probablemente usted no se acuerde de mí, pero usted hace 16 años vino a este restaurante ofreciendo la ayuda. Y aquí públicamente le digo a todos ustedes que este señor, desde que él entró al Senado, a lo menos que vino a esta junta, él nos ha ayudado mucho, porque por él se descubrieron las drogas, por él se descubrieron los fraudes a los latinos, y hasta la fecha, desde que él entró, él me está ayudando a mí en mi programa.
¿Cuántos hablan español? Okay. I'll try to do this bilingual. Bueno, yo nací en Michoacán, México. Vine a este país cuando era a teenager. I came here to the U.S. when I was a teenager. I was born in Mexico, Michoacán, Michigan. It means the same, Michoacán and Michigan. So when I came here, it was very hard for me to, first, I didn't know a word of English. No sabía nada de inglés. So it was very, very hard. And I got involved in working with the community, especially farm workers in California.
Permíteme un momentito. Si fueran tan amables de escuchar al joven, aquí venimos a escuchar. Si quieren platicar, por favor, váyanse para afuera. Gracias.
So I think that I got very involved in the immigration issues because I saw people coming like me and having a hard time. So Pueblos Sin Fronteras, that's part of what we do. We try to reach out to the community that is first generation migrants to understand the situation, what's going on in the United States, and try to help them to integrate to the new society and to their new home. So in all these, my life, I've been really struggling with immigration. Is part of my life, immigration issues. Right now, the immigration reform, as it looks right now, it will benefit very few people, and not the 11, 12 million. And also, we see that the immigration reform, as it is right now, is focusing in enforcement of the law, in sending back people to their countries, deportations, and that's something that we are very, very concerned because it's the separation of families. We have so many families now that separated. We have the mom here, or one of the parents deported, and we believe in family unity. And that's one of the values that I really appreciate from the United States, the family value. So that's one thing that we are fighting. The immigration reform, as it looks right now, is focusing more in enforcement of sending these deportations, and also the border is the border now is the numbers. Look at the numbers. Is more safe than ever, but we still putting boots in our border. And I personally, I don't think that will stop immigration. I'm a missionary. I spent 7 years of my life in a missionary order called Scalabrinians. We work with migrants and refugees in 29, now 31 countries. And I have never seen in any other country that putting a wall that stops migration. What stops migration is opportunity in their own countries. And that is something that I believe that is the root of migration. People do not want to leave their home, their families. They don't want to be, leave the roots behind. So that's another thing that we try to do with Pueblos Sin Fronteras, is help the people that has been away from home to reconnect to the roots, to reconnect to their ancestors, to abuelitos, to understand and listen to one another, to their stories, to bring some value to themselves. As of many migrants, they do not believe in themselves. They believe that they are because they hear in the news, oh, illegal, you something doing that is not. So they put themselves down. They're hiding. They're trying to be invisible in this society. So muchos de los migrantes están tratando de ser invisibles en esta sociedad porque escuchan las noticias, eres un criminal, eres un ilegal. So no, ni siquiera sale. En las marchas vemos, si salieran todos, bueno, en la última que se hizo no cabríamos. So people is very scared. So that's part of what we do in Pueblo also. Try to bring that inner strength from each migrant. And everyone in this room, everyone is a migrant. Everybody. Unless you are a Native American, you're not a migrant. So it is very important, this issue, and I'd like to, in any field, in anything that you do, like to, this is my not suggested, I want you to do that, because I see the people suffering every day. We see the people. We also go to the corners with the day labor corners, And we listen to the stories. We bring some coffee, bread. We listen to the stories. We teach them their rights. One of our main things is human rights. I work in SMU and the Embry Human Rights Program. That's my passion. So I like everyone to know their rights. It is very important. And we teach them what to do in case they've been stopped by a police. I know we have good police officers here, but not everyone is good. There's some biased police officers. And I know that because I hear from the community. And we teach them what to do, how to deal with the police, and not to be scared, todo asustado. Sí, señor patroncito, que se quita el sombrero, no? So I think that's very, very important to empower this community, which is the force of our nation. We know that migrants have built this country. I just was with the ex-braceros yesterday and listened to the stories. My grandpa was a bracero. See, my wife, her grandpa also was a bracero. And I listened to the stories of how they were treated like animals. They were treated so bad. And we're doing the same thing with the new migrants. So I encourage you to whatever you do, anything, education, politics, whatever, like to look at this force that is actually thanks to them that we have this food in here. Many people is working on the fields and many of you maybe, perhaps you did that job and you see that it's not easy. So that's my challenge for you, to get involved and to also understand and to not be afraid. The name of our organization is Sin Fronteras, without borders. But we don't. It's not the border there in the south or the north. The north is very, why don't we put another one over there? We only focus in the south. What about the oceans? Well, borders or limits, without limits, it's when we put a wall, we immediately say, I don't want to talk to you. You see? But we eliminate that wall that separates us, make us more human. When they make us more, if I just reach out to you and give you my hand, and my name is Roberto Corona, you're already breaking a wall. So the new migrants, a lot of people is afraid of them because they don't know them. You just don't know that there's people like you and me with dreams and tremendous values and a lot of ganas de trabajar. So not only trabajar, they dreaming. They are keeping the dreams alive. Many of us in our culture here, in the American culture, we stop dreaming. We just act and do things and do everything. And I see the migrants, actually they are the ones that give me all this strength and energy to keep living. I see my daughter growing up, and I see, wow, I would like to, those values that I learned from my papa, my mom, and my abuelitos, I would like my daughter to understand her own culture and history. I think that when we understand where we come from, then we'll know what we want and where do we want to go. And I really appreciate this young man here that is running. I'm not running for enough. He's running, and everybody here that is working towards minorities, towards their own passions. So I just encourage you to continue doing it, to also pay attention to and listen to the migrant voices. I think we learn a lot by listening. If we listen to, if you're running for politics, whatever, listening is a key factor. If you just come and blah, 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 I think that, yes, it's important. But if you listen carefully to every need and you try to understand people, I think that builds human relationships. That builds society. That builds really strong communities. So that's the message. My name is Roberto Corona.
¿Tenemos preguntas?
I wonder, you said you met with the braceros yesterday?
Yes.
I didn't get to attend that as much as I wanted to. I understand that some of the pickers in California that are, I forget which state in Mexico that they are from, but they all come together. And they do speak Spanish, but they are of a particular Mexican Indian tribe in Mexico. And they pick the blueberries for Driscoll. And they have negotiated, they don't have a union, but they've organized amongst themselves to negotiate with the growers, the owners of the land that they grow the blueberries. And they have refused to honor the agreements that they have come up with. So they've called an economic boycott against Driscoll that sells blueberries, and I forgot the name of the other. Do you know anything about that? Did the braceros talk about that?
Not that particular.
I'm ready to boycott blueberries, okay?
Not in that particular issue. I'm sorry, I don't know much about that. But I do, yeah, there's a lot of issues similar to that in the whole nation.
I just want to make a quick comment, because we've had one senator pointing a big obstacle in immigration reform. Next year, he's up for re-election. So we need to get the Latino vote and show him, when you come over here to Dallas, Texas, on the north side, you are not going to get re-elected. Tony is up for re-election. We need to send out a message, tell him, hey, you don't want to give us immigration reform? We don't want you in office. All right, thank you, Roberto. Let's give him a big hand. Roberto Ramona. Okay,
3 or 4 times a week.
Yo pienso que sí.
I think so.
And you knew those women and worked with them. And you knew those women and worked with them, correct?
Y usted conocía a esas mujeres y
Sí.
trabajaba con ellas.
Sí.
Yes.
And so if we take 3 or 4 times a week and we multiply it times 75,